Hello and welcome to another installment of Random Ramblings. I'm your host, Daniel. Today, I'd like to introduce a new segment called Arcs Within Arcs, where I talk about character development, specifically within an arc of either an episode or a series. Today, I'd like to cover one of my personal favorite TV series, Star Wars: The Clone Wars. Airing from 2008 to 2014, this series gained critical acclaim for its character development, action sequences, and is one of the high points before Star Wars got sold to Disney. Although, to be fair, Disney did redeem itself slightly with the Clone Wars final season, Season 7, airing in 2020. One of my favourite characters, Ahsoka Tano, is featured prominently in this series. Today, I'd like to discuss, in my opinion, how Ahsoka Tano saved Anakin Skywalkwr during the Clone Wars. And when I say saved, I mean from falling to the dark side. From her debut in the feature film, from being a scrappy Padawan who didn't listen to Anakin, thus earning her the affectionate, although formerly derivative name, Snips, Ahsoka gradually matured throughout the series to gain Anakin's trust and, indeed, his affection. If not on the level of Obi-Wan, then certainly their emotional bond was quite close to that of a brother-sister relationship, particularly by the end of the Clone Wars and before Anakin's fall. Indeed, even after Anakin fell to the dark side and became Darth Vader, their brief reunion several years later did make Anakin hesitate, if only for a second, before dueling his former apprentice to a draw. But that's a story for another day. Today, I would like to discuss, during the Clone Wars, how Ahsoka prevented Anakin's fall from the dark side, at least during the Clone Wars. It should be noted that while Anakin was the Chosen One, and while ultimately destined to bring balance to the Force in destroying the Sith, in order for him to fulfill this prophecy, he did need to return to the dark side, therefore fall. Although it cannot be understated how much suffering that fall would cause, not only to Anakin himself and his friends and family, but to the galaxy as a whole, and also specifically to his friend and Padawan Ahsoka Tano. During the course of the Clone Wars, Anakin and Ahsoka's relationship gradually matured from Ahsoka being a scrappy Padawan who didn't listen to her master, to someone who eventually could be relied upon to protect Anakin's friends, specifically Senator Amidala in the Season 3 episode Assassin. During this episode, while experiencing visions of Padme dying at the hands of a mysterious assassin, Ahsoka volunteers to protect her while Padme goes on a diplomatic mission to the planet Alderaan. During this mission, Ahsoka, having obtained some advice from Master Yoda, is able to thwart the assassin, Aurra Sing, thus saving Padme's life. It should be noted that Anakin gives Ahsoka permission to protect the senator, while Ahsoka remaining unaware that Padme is the secret wife of her master, Anakin. This does demonstrate how far their relationship has developed and how much trust Anakin indeed places in Ahsoka. Later, during the Clone Wars, Obi-Wan Kenobi fakes his own death to go undercover as the infamous bounty hunter Rako Hardeen in order to prevent the assassination attempt on Chancellor Palpatine by the Separatist Council and Count Dooku. In order to achieve this, however, he fakes his own death at the hands of the real Rako Hardeen before changing his own appearance to look like the would-be killer. However, this involves Anakin tracking down the quote-unquote real Rako Hardeen and imprisoning him, nearly killing him in the process, as he believes that Obi-Wan to truly be dead. During the funeral is a particularly emotional time for Anakin, as he is seen at the funeral of his friend and master, not saying a word, but remaining stony-faced and expressionless. All the while, the viewer can tell that Anakin is just seething with rage and hatred for Rako Hardeen, wanting nothing more than to avenge his master, but knowing also that to do so would be a step towards the dark side and a violation of the Jedi Code. During this time, Ahsoka is there for Anakin and offers to support him however she can, This includes accompanying him to arrest Rako Hardeen, during which Anakin is tempted to kill him, but does not do so. Instead arrests him and hands him over to the clones to be transported into Republic custody. Later, when Obi-Wan makes his escape with the help of Cad Bane and freeing Moralo Eval, the supposed mastermind behind this terrorist attack against the Chancellor, in order to maintain his cover, Obi-Wan, disguised as Rako Hardeen, steal a ship accompanied by Cad Bane, although they are pursued by both Anakin and Ahsoka. During this time, Anakin even fights Cad Bane and Obi-Wan unknowingly, nearly killing him. However, Obi-Wan is able to fight back and subdue his friend before revealing to him subtly that he is alive. The Jedi Council have previously devised this plan with Obi-Wan's support, and indeed, it was Obi-Wan who outlined this plan in the first place, unknown to Anakin at this point. It should be noted that Anakin is nearly killed by Cad Bane. However, Ahsoka springs into action and protects her master from being killed, potentially. Obi-Wan, Cad Bane, and Moralo Eval escape, eventually landing on Count Dooku's homeworld of Sereno, where they undertake a dangerous obstacle course known as the Box to determine the bounty hunter team set up to kidnap the Chancellor. During this time period, Anakin, having heard Obi-Wan's message, decides to confront the Jedi Council about what they know, having their bounty previously attached to Rako Hardeen called off, much to Anakin's confusion and anger. It is then revealed by Master Yoda that the deception was necessary in order for Obi-Wan to infiltrate Moralo Eval's group, and that Anakin must now be patient in order for the mission to be a success, that he must place his faith in his friend, which Anakin does, although furious at the Council for their betrayal in not trusting him with the details of the plan, which from a viewer's standpoint is completely understandable. An underlying theme to the prequel trilogy is that the Jedi, being the guardians of peace and justice, are the good guys. However, the fact that they get wrapped up in politics so easily, especially during the Clone Wars, is a black mark against their name. And the fact that they would estrange their own members in matters of security such as this does not make them appear in a better light. Not to mention how they treat a young Anakin Skywalker, telling him to not embrace his emotions, instead to let them pass and not let them influence his actions. Not to mention the fact that they never return for his mother Shmi when Anakin is just 10 years old, leaving Anakin to discover 10 years later that his mother has been captured and tortured at the hands of Tusken Raiders, leaving Anakin to murder them in a bloodthirsty rage, thus stepping one step closer to the dark side. A step unfortunately not halted or helped by the Jedi Order, especially during this instance during the Clone Wars. My point is that during this time, Ahsoka protected Anakin from Cad Bane and Moralo Eval nearly being killed in the process. She was there for Anakin and accompanied him on his mission to find Rako Hardeen and arrest him, as well as to Nal Hutta before the aforementioned duel with Cad Bane takes place. She serves as Anakin's grounding and emotional support, a support that would otherwise have been non-existent had Anakin faced the prospect of Obi-Wan's death, fake or otherwise, without Ahsoka's intervention. It is quite possible, in my opinion, that Anakin would have killed Obi-Wan without realizing the truth until it was too late. Ahsoka served to ground Anakin in the light, as well as to maintain a secure emotional bond that would otherwise have not kept him on the straight and narrow and kept Anakin grounded. Having someone to protect and look after, as well as being the source of Anakin's downfall, is also one of his greatest strengths as Anakin. His determination and drive to protect his friends and family is what makes him a great person, if not a great Jedi in the purely orthodoxical sense of the word, Ahsoka also understands Anakin's anger and his attachment to his friends, but unlike Mace Windu or even Master Yoda, does not judge him for these things, instead choosing to accept Anakin for who he is and how he feels about his friends and family, without judgment or reproach. This is a truly underrated aspect of Ahsoka's character, and indeed her relationship with Anakin, whereas Obi-Wan, by contrast, would judge Anakin for his feelings, telling him that his thoughts would betray him, such as he does in the opening moments of Attack of the Clones, when Anakin is blatantly pining for Padme, having anticipated his reunion with her after 10 years, and wanting nothing more than to be with her. While Obi-Wan is the ideal Jedi in a lot of respects, feeling deeply, as he does for his friend and secret love interest, Duchess Satine of Mandalore, he does not let these emotions for her cloud his judgment, or force him to take revenge when he fights Maul on Mandalore following Satine's death. Instead, he loves her unconditionally, but does not let these feelings rise to the surface. This is especially painful, spoiler alert, I should say, when Maul kills Satine just to spite Obi-Wan and make him suffer. By contrast, Anakin, tormented by visions of Padme dying, ironically, visions that he, unlike Ahsoka, was not able to save Padme from, is one of the many factors that drive him to the dark side of the Force. Before his subsequent redemption, while seeing his son Luke being tortured, it is his love for his son, unbeknownst to him, that still existed inside him, that enabled him to throw the Emperor down the elevator shaft, thus destroying him as well as himself, thus bringing balance to the Force, just as the prophecy as Qui-Gon Jinn saw being fulfilled at last. Ahsoka Tano and Anakin's relationship throughout the Clone Wars is truly heartwarming to see. From Ahsoka being bratty and snippy at the start of the Clone Wars film, to maturing into a great Jedi who refuses to believe that her master could have fallen or be seduced to the dark side, as she tells Maul on Mandalore in the Clone Wars Season 7, is truly one of the best aspects, in my opinion, of the Clone Wars, and demonstrates an evolution not only in Ahsoka's character, but also Anakin's, and really makes us, as an audience, sympathize with Anakin's downfall to the dark side, knowing it could have been prevented had the Jedi not been so set in their ways of non-attachment, while never truly realizing that it is not love that makes someone fall to the dark side. It is not being able to express said love or emotions in a healthy way. For instance, when Ahsoka and Barriss Offee get trapped within the catacombs of Geonosis, having destroyed the facility with them trapped in a tank, Ahsoka has faith that her master would save her. Atop the catacombs of Geonosis, across the destroyed bridge, Anakin and the clones desperately try and save Ahsoka and Barriss Offee. But while Luminara Unduli blatantly tells Anakin that he should let go of his attachment to his Padawan, as she will do for Barriss, this is something Anakin refuses to accept, and does not give up until he is able to save Ahsoka, leaving even Luminara Unduli to acknowledge that Anakin never lost faith in his Padawan being able to survive. This faith and trust is returned by Ahsoka before she is momentarily corrupted to the dark side at the hands of the Sun during the Mortis arc in Season 3, the preceding Geonosis arc taking place in Season 2, where she tells the Sun that Anakin will come for her and not give up on her, even after being hypnotized under the sun's spell to turn to the dark side against her master, Anakin refuses to harm or kill Ahsoka, even while she goads him, saying that she, the student, will finally kill the master. It is also interesting during this time that Ahsoka's insecurities come to the surface, one of which is being called Snips, a name which she despises. However, following her death at the hands of the Son, Anakin pleads with the daughter to resurrect her and save her. The daughter does so, even though it is at the expense of her own life, thus saving her in the process. It should be noted that this is another time that Anakin was able to save someone he loved from death, thus proving that love is a force for good, not something to be shunned away or repressed. It is all about moderation. But of course, that is how we, outside the Star Wars universe, view love. Not necessarily Jedi, although not in the orthodoxical sense. My point being, thank you for listening if you've gotten this far, is that if it wasn't for Ahsoka grounding Anakin and being there for him as emotional support and as a friend, Anakin may well have turned to the dark side a lot quicker, as there would be no one else to stop him from falling and giving in to his anger, as even Padme on Mustafar was not able to dissuade him from returning to the light side of the Force. Although the fact that Obi-Wan appears on her ship moments later leaves it open to interpretation that she may have been able to convince Anakin had Obi-Wan not shown up. The bond between Anakin and Ahsoka is truly a special one, and one that I hope we get to see expanded upon within the Ahsoka series itself. Well, thank you for watching this new segment on Random Ramblings, an arc within an arc. I hope you enjoy. Please subscribe if you liked this video. Please leave a like if you enjoyed the content, and please leave a comment down below for other arcs within an arc you would like to see, or any other content you would like me to cover. Thank you for watching again, and have a great day.